Today I'm going to show you an action drama film from 2017, titled Furious of Kolovrat. Be ready for spoilers ahead. After the intense battle of the Kalka River between the Mongols and the principalities of Rusu in 1223, a group of Russian hunters found themselves meandering through a dense forest along with their children, Nastya, a young girl who played the flute, and Kolovrat, a determined young boy with dreams of becoming a royal guard and a fierce warrior. However, their expedition took a tragic turn when they were suddenly ambushed by Mongolian warriors led by Commander Kolovrat. Nastya, having misplaced her flute, quickly rides her horse to the nearby town in search of help. Kolovrat valiantly attempts to fend off their attackers by wielding two swords but is abruptly stopped in his tracks by Kolovrat, who incapacitates him using bolus, and the rest of the Russian men meet their death. Fast forward 14 years, a more mature Kolovrat awakens, finding himself restrained to a bed. An older Nastya rushes to his side, offering solace and recounting their shared history. Kolovrat was presumed dead by the Mongols but managed to survive. Now he's married to Nastya, and together they have two kids. One day, on one of his expeditions from the jungle, Kolovrat brings gifts back home, a hedgehog for their girls and a handcrafted flute for Nastya. But while storing the flute, they stumble upon a stash of identical flutes, revealing Kolovrat's repetitive gift-giving due to his memory lapses. Kolovrat serves as a chief in the royal guard. As memories flood back to him, his moment of reflection is interrupted by Karkan, a fellow soldier, who escorts him to the city's defenses, where Prince Yuri seeks Kolovrat's counsel regarding an approaching group of horsemen whose allegiance remains unclear. Kolovrat advises caution, urging Yuri not to hastily take action without identifying their banner. Kolovrat's advice proves to be astute when they identify the riders as a prince's brother and his group, who have come for the baptism of Yuri's grandkid. However, news of the Mongols' impending arrival shatters the peaceful moment, disrupting the baptism. As panic sets in, Kolovrat remains steadfast by the infant's side, ensuring that the priest completes the blessing. Upon witnessing the vast Mongol army approaching, Yuri and his team hastily close the city gates, opting to make decisions internally without outside influence. Yuri quickly calls a council to deliberate their course of action. Fedor expresses confidence in the Russian warriors' abilities, believing they can overcome the Mongols despite being outnumbered. In contrast, some advisors propose paying tribute, even though it would impoverish the city with the hope of sparing its residents. While they await external help, Yuri assigns Fedor the task of leading a delegation to negotiate with the Mongols. Interrupting the council, Kolovrat surveys the city's chaos, observing residents frantically seeking refuge. He comes across Zakaria, a healer, who pleads for permission to leave the city in exchange for his medical supplies. However, Kolovrat stresses the futility of escape given the city's besieged condition. Soon, Kolovrat receives an unexpected order from Yuri. He is to accompany Fedor in the upcoming Mongol negotiations. Kolovrat's initial reservations, stemming from his memory lapses, are mirrored by Nastya's heartfelt pleas, but Yuri's steadfast trust in him overrules these concerns. Kolovrat enlists Zakaria for his proficiency in the Mongol language. Nastya, deeply concerned for Kolovrat's safety, assigns their house helper Lada, who is skilled in caring for Kolovrat's morning needs, to accompany the group. The team, bearing valuable treasures as offerings, advances toward the Mongol encampment and receives a warm welcome into Batu Khan's tent. Impressed by their tribute, Batu Khan invites them to share drinks, during which the Russians inquire about his intentions. Batu Khan dismisses any immediate conquest but expresses curiosity about Russian culture, hinting at the possibility of taking over Ryazan. He offers provisions to any Russian who submits, but Fedor responds with a daring challenge for Batu Khan to kneel himself. A tense confrontation ensues. Kolovrat, his gaze fixed on Batu Khan's expansive map, steps up in defense of Fedor and asserts the unwavering support of their city. Acknowledging Kolovrat's unwavering resolve, Batu Khan presents him with a protective talisman, accompanied by a letter of safe passage that shields its bearer from harm in enemy territories. The negotiations take a sinister turn when Batu Khan introduces them to a performance. Unbeknownst to the Russians, this distraction is a ruse intended to pave the way for a covert Mongol attack. However, their plot is foiled when enslaved Russians who serve as table bearers discreetly alert their fellow countrymen about the impending danger. In the ensuing chaos, Kolovrat masterminds an escape from the tent, liberating the enslaved Russians in the process. They fiercely battle numerous Mongol soldiers, successfully acquiring horses to make their getaway toward the safety of the forest. Regrettably, Fedor is struck by an arrow, but still determined to buy time for the others, he stays behind, facing a tragic end at the hands of Kolovrat. Batu Khan decides not to pursue them and instead focuses on preparing for a bigger attack. Kolovrat and his companions face increasing difficulties as they journey through a fierce snowstorm. To their surprise, they encounter an enormous bear but display no hostility, as it is under the influence of Nestor, a fellow Russian. He guides them to a spacious cave where they can seek refuge from the storm. While the rest of the group rests, Kolovrat, unable to sleep because of his memory lapses, requests a potion from Nestor to help him stay awake and retain his memories. However, Nestor declines this request and suggests that waking up each day without any memories could be an opportunity to start anew. Struggling to stay awake by the light of the fire, Kolovrat, recalling the map he saw in Batu Khan's tent, hastily sketches it. When the storm finally subsides, the group departs, leaving Nestor in his sanctuary. However, when they arrive in Ryazan, they find utter devastation. The Mongols have wreaked havoc. Buildings are in ruins, and the main bell has fallen. Fedor's wife took a fatal leap with their baby, and Nastia and her kids perished in a house fire. Kolovrat comes across the flute he had crafted for his wife. Determined, he inspires his men, restoring the fallen bell and ringing it to signal for any potential survivors. The city's remaining inhabitants are children, and a glimmer of hope seems to return. Yet this moment of relief is short-lived, as word spreads of the Mongols' imminent return. Kolovrat hatches a plan. He tricks the Mongols into thinking they are surrendering by luring them under the bell. When they draw near, he launches a sudden attack, his skillful dual sword technique proving deadly. As the Mongols' ranks are significantly reduced, his comrades emerge, joining forces to overpower the enemy. With the immediate threat eliminated, Kolovrat lays out the next steps, sending messengers to neighboring cities for help and relocating the children to the safety of Nestor's cave. Kolovrat and his fellow warriors brainstorm strategies to divert and engage the Mongol horde. Zakaria offers a solution. He concocts a potent potion that they quietly introduce into the Mongols' water supply, causing them to fall ill. To boldly convey their act, Kolovrat attaches a fragment of the intercepted letter to an arrow and sends it soaring toward the Mongol camp. Upon finding it, an enraged Kostovril dispatches a troop in retaliation. However, the Russians ambush his attackers, easily defeating them. Exhausted from several days of sleep deprivation, Kolovrat finally succumbs to sleep when the group establishes an impromptu camp. Lada, worried about Kolovrat's amnesic episodes, secures him to a tree to ensure his safety and silently wishes that he might return her affection. When night falls, she wakes him to provide nourishment. But in her haste to unbind him before helping him regain his memory, Kolovrat becomes disoriented, confusing allies with foes. Restraint becomes a group endeavor, and it's Karkan's soothing words that ultimately find resonance with Kolovrat. Filled with regret for the confusion, Kolovrat offers comfort to the distressed Lada. Later, two of the messengers dispatched to neighboring cities encounter princes who, prioritizing self-preservation, refuse to provide assistance. The third messenger, unfortunately, suffers injuries that leave him unconscious on his horse. Later, shrouded in the cover of night, Kolovrat and his team sneak into the Mongol camp. They overcome stubborn Mongol soldiers who resist them and turn the horde's own catapults against them. As a bold statement of defiance, Kolovrat embeds another arrow with a piece of the message meant for the cost of rule. In retaliation, the Mongols capture the errant messenger, subjecting him to harsh interrogation. As night falls, the Russians withdraw into the forest, expecting reinforcements with the dawn. Lada, misinterpreting Kolovrat's apparent slumber, moves closer to him. When she startles at his gaze, she attempts to rekindle his memory by pretending to be Nastia. Kolovrat, however, sees through her deception and gently reminds her of her intrinsic worth to him. The following morning, an unusual sound lowers Kolovrat deeper into the forest, with Lada secretly following him. This journey leads to a grim discovery of the lifeless body of the third messenger, evidence of a Mongol trap. Suddenly encircled by foes, Kolovrat engages in a fierce battle. With great fascination, Kostovril observes, trying to incapacitate Kolovrat using his bolas, evoking memories of their prior encounter. However, this time, a vigilant Kolovrat deflects the attack with his sword. In the midst of the worsening storm, Nestor, accompanied by the bear, arrives at a critical moment, dispatching numerous Mongols and scattering the rest in terror. As the Mongol soldiers regroup, they exchange spine-chilling tales of supernatural happenings during the battle. Despite their initial skepticism about stories of spectral trickery, witnessing Kolovrat seemingly command a storm and a bear leads even Kostovril to question the boundaries of reality. Nevertheless, Batu Khan scolds his general for entertaining superstitions and orders a strategic retreat, with the intention of dispelling the myths surrounding the war. On the Russian side, Nestor, releasing the bear, aligns himself with Kolovrat's brigade, bringing along additional men from nearby villages. Listening to Zakaria's advice, Kolovrat makes the choice for his fighters to create a protective line, granting Karkan, Lada, and the children the opportunity to hurry to the river. They plan to use the sail on the sleigh to move more swiftly than any pursuing horseman, ensuring Ryazan's heritage has a fighting chance to survive. After the sleigh departs, the rest of the men busily set snares and station themselves on a hill, ready for the imminent Mongol attack. As Batu Khan's formidable army draws near, they promptly dispatch a battalion to engage the Russians. However, the expert archers and cleverly positioned traps foil their initial attack. Subsequently, Karkan encounters obstacles on his path, requiring a combined effort to maneuver the sleigh forward. However, Mongol archers find their targets, and as they breach the hill's defenses, close combat breaks out, which culminates in Nestor and Zakaria being brought down. Kostovril sets his sights on Kolovrat, but the latter skillfully defeats him with his twin blades. The sheer numbers of the Mongol forces eventually wear down the Russian defenders. However, their unwavering determination ensures Karkan and the children make it to the river. A minor setback arises when they discover the knot on the sail is frozen. Ingeniously, Lada instructs the children to breathe on the frost, thawing it enough to free the sail to enable their escape. As the Russian forces start to thin out, Kolovrat eliminates the remaining Mongol adversaries on the hill, proudly raising his flag. An irritated Batu Khan, feeling taunted, dispatches an envoy to ascertain the Russians' intentions. Echoing the Mongol leader's earlier words, Kolovrat declares they want nothing, emphasizing that the Mongols were never welcomed in the first place. In a fit of anger, Batu Khan orders his troops to launch the catapults. However, Kolovrat spots the sleigh sail on the river, finding comfort in the survivors' successful escape from capture. His relief is short-lived as he's swiftly thrown a rock that knocks him unconscious. Moments later, as he regains consciousness, Kolovrat's memory returns, but he's met with the grim sight of his fallen comrades. Kolovrat descends the hill, using the talisman to protect himself. Despite collapsing, he boldly predicts to Batu Khan that his people will one day seek retribution. Handing the talisman back to the Mongol leader, Kolovrat's parting words mock Batu Khan, suggesting that he has made him submit. Shortly after these words, Kolovrat meets his creator. The extraordinary courage displayed by Kolovrat deeply impresses Batu Khan, who recognizes that had Kolovrat been born a Mongol, he would have been his most trusted warrior. As a mark of honor for the fallen hero, Batu Khan instructs his men to provide Kolovrat with a dignified burial. Skipping ahead 5 years, Kharkhan now leads the Novgorod-Vladimir military forces. As they gear up for battle, he inspires his troops by recalling the memory of Kolovrat's bravest stand. Fueled by this spirit, they move forward into the conflict that would later be documented as the Battle on the Ice. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this.